Hi, welcome to Film Dirt. For this review, I'm going to be looking at Star Wars Episode 2, Attack of the Clones. Now, I've got to get a few things off my chest with this film. I do like a lot of it, and I do hate a lot of it as well. I don't think it's the worst of the prequels. I think that belongs to The Phantom Menace. I just found that one too childish, too simplified. Various effects and Gungans and all of that jazz, just too much. This film, however, had quite a lot of story going on. Now, I've read a lot of the write-ups online from people commenting on the themes of the political history of Adolf Hitler and how he rose to power with getting the other factions to bicker amongst themselves and thus leaving him a free path. I don't know the exact story, and I've only looked at it briefly, and there is a case to be had. The story is very similar, and I think George Lucas may have cherry-picked or hinted at certain aspects of politics becoming the downfall of the Jedi Order and giving birth to the Empire. So that was quite interesting. I only saw this afterwards when I did read up on it, because I had a few niggling things going on in the back of my mind when I revisited Attack of the Clones, and I do see some things that can be examined. I don't think it came across very well. I think George Lucas is probably too clever, and he put these nuggets into the story, but really didn't develop them enough or make them too obvious enough. I think there should have been more of a not more politics, but more obvious look at what is bringing the Emperor into power. What is he doing exactly? Like, he's obviously the puppet master, but George needs to show a bit clearer, I think, what he's actually doing. Even if he has to write it in as exposition between two people talking about it, just something, rather than, I mean, there's a case to be had for leaving certain story aspects ambiguous and letting the audience think for themselves. But I think from what I've heard of this Star Wars movie, I think that certain things should have been made clearer. And there's a lot of deeper meaning behind Attack of the Clones, but it's almost spoiled with just a very boring love story. And I know it's supposed to be creepy, and that was it, probably an intentional aspect of Anakin's character. You know, he's not supposed to be a child anymore. We had that in the previous film. Now he's supposed to be thinking, how do I save Padme? You know, this is starting to worry me, and he's getting, you know, in modern times you'd say he's getting depression, because it's always a negative thought bouncing around his head that he can't get rid of. But who's his father? How is the dark side affecting him? How and why and who is doing it? I mean, we're hinting at other dark side users, like Cypher Diaz's name is mentioned as well, and it's never quite explained where Count Dooku is coming from. We know he's a former Jedi. I think that should have been made more obvious as well, and it didn't need to be elaborate. There was a great scene cut out of the I believe it's the Jedi Temple archive, and I think it was a crucial scene. It just established who Count Dooku was, and I think it was only mere seconds long. I think it should have stayed in and cut out something else, but you know, leaving that was a crucial shot that was character driven. And considering Count Dooku is the main villain in this movie, Yeah, it should have stayed in the movie really. So the only other thing that was really bugging me was there's a lot of bad puns by C-3PO in the end battle, and there's just two or three too many. I think one is enough, and that beside myself line where no one laughed in the theatre. I remember when I saw it. I think there may have been a groan, and yeah, just too much. I think by that point George realised that there's no comedy in Attack of the Clones at all. Went from a very light-hearted comedic film to a very serious, almost stoic mood, which was throughout the film. And then he inserted jokes in. I think it was probably a redub or voiceover. So that's a shame. That was supposed to be a very tense moment, and we could have done without that. And besides, I think C-3PO is, for the most part, a bit of an annoying character. I know he serves a purpose, but he's not the protagonist anymore. That is a bunch of characters, and I don't think that's even made clear who that person is in Attack of the Clones. I think it's possibly ObiWan. The more I think about it, they should have stuck with the moody theme and the detective story that was being established from the first scene, which I think is great. The Naboo cruiser coming in and suddenly being bombed. I think that was a very good setup. Nice start to the movie, and raised a lot of questions that Obi-Wan had to go and solve. And we also saw that it wasn't just an attempt at Padme's life. There was human casualties. I mean, it wasn't just a ship full of aliens. I mean, we see there's human guys in there, and as well the decoy. That was probably one of the best starts, one of the best couple of minutes to any Star Wars film. It establishes that even though I don't think she's a politician at this point. I think she's still a senator, isn't she? Yeah, she's not in as much a position of power anymore, but there's still attempts being made on her life, which we never saw in Phantom Menace, but we're now starting to see, and that's kind of what's bringing Anakin out to guard her, and should never have been left alone. So yeah, that's quite interesting. There's some interesting things there. Yeah, lack of Jar Jar as well. I mean, he's all over Phantom Menace, and it's very reactionary of George to completely edit him out, edit his story arc out of this film. I think I don't agree with the character in the first place. I'm not saying we should have inserted more of Jar Jar in this, but the character should have been different and more serious. I think we could have had a nice overlap from Phantom Menace to Attack of the Clones. I think it showed us that Jar Jar wasn't a significant character, and I think he should have been. So overall, I think there's some good stuff in here. Just a bit too boring in places. Like the boring love story. I think it could have been written better. And George had another writer on this. I believe his name is Jonathan Hales, and didn't really seem to be much of an improvement. There's a lot going on that's insinuated, but I don't think it's obvious enough. As I said earlier, it just needs to be hammered home more, because a lot of us audience members, myself included, a lot of us are stupid in some respects. We need things to be made more obvious. You can't just keep hinting, otherwise you get bored. And I think there's a lot of good stuff here, but it just needs to be hammered home more. So I'm going to give this the same score I gave Phantom Menace. I think it's a 3 out of 5. Slightly better for me than the Phantom Menace, because I do like that it's a much more serious movie, as it should have been. I think that's crucial. I think we should have started it with this tone rather than come into the serious stuff in the second movie. I think this is the tone that all the prequels should have had. I know Revenge of the Sith had a dark tone as well, and it's supposed to be a sad story. This is the downfall a good-natured child, or we believe he's good-natured. And this didn't need to be a comedy. It just needed to be more emphasised that this is a sad time. It's not uplifting. It's not upbeat. And I think maybe another script review or maybe a different director, maybe I still think would have possibly helped. And I read a story that he was looking for other directors to film it, but I think people were scared. This is not just any ordinary property. This is George Lucas's baby, so I can understand that people are nervous. Even the best directors probably have reservations of messing this up because of the fan base. So, like I said, 3 out of 5, marginally better than The Phantom Menace, but not as good as Revenge of the Sith, which I think is great, and I'll be reviewing that movie next. So, like and subscribe so you can catch my upcoming reviews. And just to end with a little bit about myself, as I always say, I'm not connected to any of the studios. All my reviews are completely unbiased. So, it was good talking to you, and I'll see you again. Take care.